Emma stared out of the rain-streaked window, tracing lazy patterns on the glass with her fingertip. The city lights blurred into a watercolor of yellow and crimson, reflecting off the puddles that lined the streets below. From here, from their 12th-floor apartment, everything seemed distant, almost unreal. Yet, inside her, a quiet storm had begun to stir. "Emma, dinner's ready." Jake's voice floated from the kitchen, warm and steady, as always. She turned away from the window, forcing a smile. "Coming," she replied, slipping into the familiar rhythm of their life. Jake was already plating their food, humming softly, a tune she couldn't place but found comforting. They had been together for 7 years, married for 5, and from the outside, their life looked perfect. The kind of life people envied. A chic apartment in the city, stable jobs, close friends, weekend trips to vineyards, and cozy beach towns. But perfection, she thought, was often just a carefully maintained illusion. Sitting across from him, Emma picked at her salad. "How was work?" she asked, the question automatic, hollow. Jake smiled, unaware of the tension in her shoulders. Same old, same old. Meetings, emails, the usual grind. "But I got a promotion today." Her eyes lit up reflexively, but inside, a flicker of unease passed. "That's great. Congratulations," she said. He reached across the table, taking her hand. "Thanks, Em. I know things have been a little quiet between us lately, but this is a good step." Emma nodded, squeezing his hand, but she couldn't shake the feeling that the quiet wasn't temporary, it was growing. It wasn't just the promotion, the routine, or the apartment. It was her own restlessness, a creeping dissatisfaction she couldn't name. Later that evening, Emma curled up on the couch, absently scrolling through her phone. Work emails, news alerts, social media feeds, they blurred together until a message popped up that made her heart skip. "Alex. Hey, remember me from the conference last year? I'm back in town. Coffee." Emma froze. Alex. She hadn't expected to hear from him, not after all this time. They had met briefly at a marketing conference, exchanged ideas, and shared a fleeting connection, nothing more, or so she told herself. But reading his message, a warmth spread through her chest, a mix of curiosity and something else she didn't want to name. She typed a cautious reply. "Sure, coffee sounds nice." When, after sending it, Emma leaned back, staring at the ceiling. What was this feeling? Excitement? Nervousness? The thrill of something new, something forbidden? She forced herself to dismiss it. It was just a coffee. Just catching up with an old acquaintance. Nothing more. The next morning, Jake kissed her forehead before leaving for work. "Big day today," he said. His smile was easy, genuine. Emma hugged him tightly. "Good luck," she murmured, though her mind was already drifting, imagining the meeting with Alex. By mid-morning, she found herself at a small cafe tucked away on a quiet street. The bell above the door jingled as she entered, and there he was, Alex, looking effortlessly charming, the kind of person who seemed to draw energy from the room. "Emma, it's been forever," he said, standing to hug her. "It really has," she replied, feeling a thrill she hadn't felt in years. They sat down, ordered coffee, and began to talk. At first, the conversation was casual, filled with small talk about work and mutual friends. But slowly, the layers of familiarity and understanding unfolded. He remembered the little things she had mentioned in passing a year ago, the book she loved, her favorite coffee corner, the fact that she liked her coffee with just a splash of almond milk. "You haven't changed much," Alex said, smiling. "Still obsessed with tiny details." Emma laughed, a genuine laugh that felt strange and exhilarating. She realized how long it had been since she felt seen, not just noticed, but truly seen. As they talked, she caught herself leaning closer, brushing her hand against his. The warmth of his presence was intoxicating. And yet, with every smile, every shared memory, a pang of guilt struck her like lightning. She thought of Jake, his kind eyes, his steady hands, the way he trusted her implicitly. She loved him. She truly did. But was love always enough? By the time they left the cafe, the rain had stopped, leaving the streets slick and reflective. Alex suggested a walk, and Emma agreed. They moved together through the city, laughing at little jokes, sharing stories. And with each step, the line between friendship and something more blurred. That evening, when Emma returned home, she found Jake on the couch, reading a book. He looked up, smiling, completely unaware of the storm that had quietly begun in her heart. "Hey," he said, stretching his arms. "How was your morning?" Emma forced a smile, hiding the flutter of emotions inside her. "It was nice," she said softly. Jake didn't press further. He just nodded, content, believing their life was the same as always. And perhaps it was, or at least, that's what he thought. Emma sat beside him, her hand brushing against his. A part of her wanted to reach for his warmth, to sink into the familiar comfort of their life together. But another part, smaller, insistent, whispered that something had changed, something she couldn't ignore. And in that quiet apartment, amidst the soft hum of the city, Emma realized that the perfect facade of her life was starting to crack. The following days passed in a haze. Emma couldn't focus at work. Every spreadsheet, every client email seemed dull, gray, compared to the vibrant spark of Alex's presence. She told herself it was harmless, just nostalgia, a friendly connection. Yet every time her phone buzzed with a new message from him, her heart skipped a beat. "Alex, can we meet for lunch tomorrow? There's a new gallery opening I think you'd love." Emma hesitated. Lunch? With Alex? Her fingers hovered over the keyboard. She could feel the heat rising in her chest. She typed, deleted, then typed again. Sure. Sounds perfect. The next day, she found herself standing outside the gallery, heart racing in a way she hadn't felt in years. Art had never felt this exhilarating. Every painting, every sculpture seemed to echo something inside her. She had forgotten the part of herself that craved discovery, passion, and unpredictability. Alex arrived, holding 2 cups of coffee. "I hope you like surprises," he said, smiling in that easy way that made the world feel lighter. Emma smiled back, feeling a thrill that both frightened and excited her. "I'm ready." They wandered through the gallery together, talking about everything and nothing: art, literature, fleeting memories, dreams they hadn't yet pursued. Alex had a way of listening that made her feel seen, not just heard. With every laugh, every shared glance, a spark ignited in her chest. Later, they stepped outside into the crisp autumn air. The city hummed around them, indifferent to the small, dangerous world Emma was building in her heart. "Do you remember our conversation last year?" Alex asked, his voice low, almost teasing. "About what it feels like to want something you're not supposed to have." Emma's breath caught. "Ah yes," she whispered. He looked at her, his eyes searching hers, and for a moment, the rest of the world disappeared. Emma's pulse quickened, and the rational part of her mind, marriage, loyalty, the life she had carefully constructed, fought to regain control. But the emotional part, the one that had lain dormant, whispered, "Why not? Why not feel alive?" The next few days were torture. Every encounter with Jake became tinged with guilt. Every glance at him reminded her of the warmth she once took for granted. She loved him, yes, but love had become predictable. Alex, on the other hand, ignited a longing she couldn't easily name. One evening, Jake invited her out to dinner. They walked hand in hand through the streets, the soft glow of streetlights casting gentle shadows on the pavement. He talked about work, about the promotion, about a future trip he hoped they could take together. Emma listened, smiling, nodding, yet her mind kept drifting to Alex, his laughter, his touch, the way he made her feel alive. That night, lying in bed, Emma stared at the ceiling, heart heavy with guilt. She felt torn in two, pulled between duty and desire, loyalty and longing. Her hand brushed against Jake's in the dark, and she felt a pang of love and sorrow all at once. She wanted him, but she wanted something else too, a thrill she couldn't resist. Her phone vibrated. A message from Alex. "Can I see you tomorrow? There's something I want to show you." Emma's fingers trembled as she typed back, "Yes." The next day, she met Alex at a quiet park, hidden from the bustling streets nearby. He had a small picnic laid out, simple yet thoughtful. They sat on a blanket, sharing sandwiches and laughing over small stories, but beneath the laughter, an undercurrent of tension hummed. At one point, Alex leaned closer, his hand brushing hers. Emma froze, every rational thought fleeing. She looked at him, at the intensity in his gaze, and realized just how far this had gone, how far she was willing to let it go. "Emma," he said softly, "there's something I need to tell you. I can't stop thinking about you. I know you're married, and I don't want to complicate things, but I can't ignore how I feel." Her chest tightened. She wanted to pull away, to retreat to the safety of her life with Jake, but the magnetic pull of Alex was irresistible. She whispered, barely audible, "I don't know what to say." "You don't have to say anything now," he said gently, "just feel it. Feel it with me." And for the first time in years, Emma allowed herself to feel not responsibility, not guilt, but raw, unfiltered desire. That evening, returning home, she avoided Jake's gaze. The apartment felt smaller, constricted, suffocating. He asked her about her day, smiled at her with trust, but she could not meet his eyes without feeling the weight of the secret growing inside her. In the privacy of the bathroom mirror, she traced her own face with trembling fingers, asking herself the question she feared to answer. Who am I becoming? Emma knew one thing with painful clarity. The whisper of temptation had become impossible to ignore. And with every thought of Alex, every stolen message, the cracks in her perfect facade widened. The next week passed in a blur of stolen moments. Emma found herself thinking of Alex constantly, each memory of him sharper, more consuming than the last. She would catch herself smiling at nothing, replaying their conversation in her mind, the brush of his hand against hers at the park, the intensity in his gaze. Each thought made her stomach flutter with excitement and dread all at once. Jake noticed. He always noticed. He had a way of reading her moods like an open book, yet she continued to hide the truth behind polite smiles and rehearsed explanations. Is everything okay? He asked one evening, concern softening his voice. They were sitting on the couch, the city lights flickering through the windows, shadows dancing across the walls. Emma swallowed hard, forcing a laugh. Yeah, just tired, I guess. Work's been a lot. Jake reached over, brushing a strand of hair behind her ear. You can talk to me, you know, whatever it is. She nodded, feeling a pang of guilt so sharp it made her chest ache. I'm talking to him in my head about everything, not you. That night, after Jake fell asleep beside her, Emma found herself scrolling through her phone again. A message from Alex awaited her, short but loaded with meaning. Can I come over? I don't want to wait any longer. Her heart raced. The rational part of her mind screamed no Jake, marriage, betrayal. But another part, smaller but insistent, whispered yes. The part that had been quietly aching for this spark, for this escape from monotony. Okay, she typed, her fingers trembling. By the time Alex arrived, the apartment was quiet, Jake snoring softly in the bedroom. Emma opened the door to him, her breath catching in her throat. He looked at her with that same magnetic intensity that had haunted her dreams for the past week. Emma, he said softly, stepping inside, I couldn't wait any longer. I had to see you. She closed the door behind him, her heart pounding. Alex, we shouldn't have, but the words died on her lips. He reached out, taking her hand in his, and suddenly, everything else, the apartment, the city, even Jake faded. It was just the two of them, standing there, separated from the world by a thin line of morality that seemed impossibly fragile. They talked for a while, voices low, laughter soft and nervous. And then, in the dim glow of the living room, Alex leaned closer, brushing a strand of hair from her face. Emma didn't pull away. Instead, she felt a thrill that made her shiver. You don't have to do this if you don't want to, Alex whispered, his eyes searching hers for permission. Emma's chest heaved. I don't know if I can stop, she admitted, the confession slipping out before she could think better of it. And then, almost imperceptibly, she crossed the line. Their lips met in a brief, hesitant kiss, tasting both fear and desire. Emma's heart raced, guilt and exhilaration colliding in a storm that left her breathless. Pulling back slightly, she whispered, We can't, Jake. Alex shook his head, smiling softly. I know. Just let me be here, right now. Let me make you feel alive again. For hours, they existed in a bubble of stolen passion and whispered confessions. Emma laughed, cried, and trembled with feelings she hadn't allowed herself to feel in years. She felt guilty, yes, but more than that, she felt awake. The next morning, as she woke alone in the bed she shared with Jake, the weight of reality settled heavily on her chest. She touched the sheets beside her, imagining Alex there instead, and a pang of longing and guilt twisted inside her. Jake was still asleep when she got up, moving quietly through the apartment. She couldn't look at him without feeling the double life she was living crushing her from the inside. He trusted her, loved her, and she was already slipping into someone she didn't fully recognize. Days passed with careful deception. She met Alex in secret, weaving elaborate excuses to avoid suspicion. Each encounter left her more torn, more aware of the dangerous path she was walking. Yet each meeting also made her feel more alive, more connected to a part of herself she had long ignored. One evening, Jake came home earlier than expected. Emma had just sent Alex away, heart still racing, and she froze as he stepped into the apartment. Emma, you've been distant lately, Jake said softly, sitting beside her. I feel it. I don't know why, but I feel it. Talk to me. Emma's chest tightened, guilt slicing through her like a knife. She wanted to tell him everything, to unburden herself, but the fear of shattering his world kept her silent. I am just tired, she murmured, forcing a smile. "Work, you know." Jake reached for her hand, squeezing gently. "I trust you. But if something's wrong, I need you to tell me." And in that moment, Emma realized that the facade of perfection she had maintained was no longer enough. The whisper of temptation had become a roar, and soon, secrets would no longer stay hidden. Emma couldn't sleep that night. The apartment felt suffocating, the silence pressing down on her like a physical weight. Every shadow seemed to echo with guilt. Every sound reminded her of the lie she had woven. Jake was sleeping beside her, unaware of the storm raging inside her, and for the first time in years, Emma wondered if their life together could survive the truth. She heard the faint buzz of her phone and saw Alex's name on the screen. Her fingers trembled as she picked it up. "Alex, I can't stop thinking about last night. Are you okay?" Emma typed a reply, but deleted it, then typed something else. "I need time. We need to stop before it goes too far." Her chest tightened. Even as she sent the message, she knew the truth was already out of control. She couldn't undo what had happened. She had crossed the line. The next morning, Jake made her breakfast, his usual warmth shining through. "Good morning, Em," he said, handing her a cup of coffee. She smiled weakly, her stomach churning. She could no longer keep the lie inside. "Jake, we need to talk," she whispered, barely meeting his eyes. He sat down across from her, concern etched into his face. "Okay, what is it?" Emma took a deep breath, tears welling in her eyes. I've made a terrible mistake." Jake froze, sensing the gravity of her words. "Emma, what do you mean?" Her hands shook as she confessed everything: the coffee dates, the gallery, the kisses, the stolen moments she couldn't resist. Each word felt like a hammer striking her heart. She watched as the expression on his face changed from confusion to disbelief, to hurt so raw it made her want to curl into herself and disappear. "Emma, why?" Jake's voice was barely a whisper, broken by pain. "Why would you do this? I thought we were happy." I don't know," she sobbed. "I love you, Jake. I do. But I felt something else, something I can't explain. And I'm so sorry. I never wanted to hurt you." Jake's hands trembled as he ran them through his hair. "I trusted you. I gave you everything, and this is what I get." Tears streamed down Emma's face as she nodded. "I know, and I'll do whatever it takes to make it right. I couldn't lie anymore." For a long moment, silence stretched between them, heavy and suffocating. Jake looked away, then back at her, his eyes glistening with unshed tears. "I don't know if we can fix this," he said quietly. "I don't even know if I can forgive you." Emma felt her heart shatter. She wanted to reach out, to hold him, to beg for forgiveness, but she knew some wounds were too deep to heal quickly. "I understand," she whispered. I'll do whatever you need. I just can't live with this secret anymore." Days passed in tense quiet. The apartment, once a sanctuary, became a battleground of emotions: pain, betrayal, regret, and the fragile threads of love that still lingered. Jake distanced himself, not cruelly, but with a wounded caution that cut deeper than any argument could. Emma felt every moment of it like a knife twisting in her chest. Meanwhile, Alex reached out again, sensing the cracks in her life. But Emma, for the first time, felt clarity. She realized that her desire for him had been a spark, temporary, intense, but ultimately destructive. She wanted something real, something lasting, and it wasn't with him. Sitting alone one night, Emma wrote in her journal, trying to untangle the mess inside her heart. "I wanted excitement, I wanted passion, I wanted to feel alive. But I almost lost the one person who truly loved me. The one who would have stayed no matter what. I can't undo what I've done, but maybe I can try to rebuild." Weeks later, Jake and Emma sat together on the balcony, the city sprawling beneath them in golden evening light. They didn't talk much, but the silence was no longer heavy. It was tentative, fragile, but full of possibility. Jake reached for her hand, hesitant, searching. Emma took it, holding it gently. "I don't know if we're okay," he admitted. "But I'm willing to try. Are you?" Emma nodded, tears spilling again, but this time with a sense of relief, of hope. "Yes, I'm willing." And in that moment, amidst the heartbreak and the mistakes, they found the first fragile glimmer of healing. The perfect facade was gone, shattered by truth and temptation, but perhaps they could rebuild something stronger, more honest, more real. Emma leaned her head on Jake's shoulder, feeling the weight of guilt and the warmth of love entwined. She didn't know what the future held, but for the first time in a long while, She felt alive not in secret, not in lies but in the fragile, messy, imperfect truth.